Hello, what's up, everyone? How you guys doing? It's me, Drew Manning, your host of the new Fit to Fat to Fit Experience podcast. As many of you know, hopefully by now, that I took a little bit of break from podcasting, and I talk about that in an episode that I posted a couple of days ago called "I'm Back," and you can find that on my website at fit2fat2fit.com, and just go to the podcast link, and it should be one of the top ones up there. Kind of talking about why I took a break and why I'm coming back and how I'm doing things differently. So if you want to understand, all of that, you can go check that out. But I'm back and I'm doing things my way. I'm doing things differently. I'm just going to be talking about things that are just important to me. And I'm only going to do it on my terms. Like, I used to only interview people once a week, and I just felt like I was going through the motions, and I wasn't passionate about what I was doing anymore. So I pulled my audience and asked questions about topics that they want to hear from me. And I'm just going to talk about those things, mostly solo casts. If I do bring on someone to interview, it's got to be someone very, very special that I freaking love. And I think that their message is going to be super valuable to you all, and it's interesting to me. So I'm just going to be in charge of deciding what I want to talk about. And hopefully you guys enjoy this new format. Today, one of the things that people wanted me to talk about was actually talking about my books. So I've actually written two books. One is called Fit to Fat to Fit, which actually became a New York Times bestseller. And that book goes into my first experience of doing my first Fit to Fat to Fit journey, where I gained 75 pounds on purpose and then lost it, and wrote a book about it. And the book is called Fit to Fat to Fit, talking about the mental, emotional, and physical challenges presented during that journey. But in today's podcast, I'm not going to be talking about that book. I'll save that for a different episode. But today I'm going to be talking about my other book, my second book, called Complete Keto, right here. And the reason I'm talking about this book today is because for a limited time, from August 20th through August 26th, so hopefully this podcast will be released before then, my book is available for $1.99 on Amazon for the ebook version, the Kindle version, which you can go to Amazon right now and check it out for $1.99 for a limited time only. And so that's why I wanted to do a quick little podcast talking about what is Complete Keto, why you might want to look into it if you're interested in doing the ketogenic diet. So I'm going to do a very short but deep dive into this book, maybe like 20 minutes max. But before we dive into the episode, this podcast is always sponsored by my supplement company. A lot of people don't even know I own a supplement company called Complete Wellness. And Complete Wellness is a brand that I started years ago. And you can go to completewellness.com to check out all of our products. And one of the products that I want to talk about really quick, because I just did a post about this, is our sleep product, which is $9.95 for a 30-day supply. So it's very cheap, but it's also very effective. And the reason that I want to talk about this specific product is because I had been traveling around Europe, as many of you know, for about 3 weeks, which is about a 12-hour time difference from Hawaii. And it definitely messed up my sleep patterns and did not sleep well the entire trip. And then coming back home, obviously I was thrown off as well, but I started taking our sleep product, which has 3 ingredients: melatonin, GABA, and 5-HTP. And so the sleep product is very simple. You take one pill at nighttime. It's got 3 milligrams of melatonin, which is a hormone that regulates our sleep-wake cycle. It has GABA in it as well. GABA is a neurotransmitter that kind of helps calm our brain down. It slows down brain activity in a sense, and allows us to allows us to fall asleep faster and have a more restful sleep throughout the night. And then 5-HTP is actually a precursor to serotonin and increases our serotonin production, and serotonin gets turned into melatonin. And so that combination of ingredients has worked really well for me. And I track my sleep using my Whoop device right here, which I'll also talk about a little bit. I use my Whoop to track everything from my sleep score, my recovery score, and my strain score. And the thing I like about Whoop is that it doesn't just give you the data. It tells you how to interpret it and analyze it, and then it coaches you on the results of that data. So if I sleep well, it gives me a good score, like in the green. Green, yellow, red. Green is good, yellow is okay, and red is bad. This past week, since I've been home, all green scores by taking our sleep product, and it just has really worked well for me. And so wanted to talk about that product specifically because it's only $9.95 for a 30-day supply. So it's very cheap. It's very effective. And you can go to completewellness.com to check it out. We have other products as well. like, we have a chocolate and vanilla whey protein. We have a powdered greens. We have a nitric oxide booster. We have digestive enzymes. We have wild Alaskan salmon oil. We have things like, let's see what else. Vitamin D3. We have a few other things. If you just go to completewellness.com, check out our full lineup of products. And all of our products, you guys, have three important parts. One is the cost, right? It has to be affordable. That's one of my goals, is to make each of our products very competitive compared to other products out there. Number two, it's got to taste good. And all of our products do taste good, and they use natural sweeteners, not artificial sweeteners in them. And then number three, effectiveness, the quality of the ingredients. And I'm very proud of all the ingredients that are in our products, because they're not full with junk and fillers and flow agents and things like that. They're really high quality ingredients. So go to completewellness.com, check it out, and show them some love. I really appreciate you guys supporting me and this podcast. So really quick, let's dive into my book, Complete Keto. So I wrote this book back in 2019. And first of all, I'm just going to talk about why I stumbled upon keto and how, and why I decided to go down this keto journey. So back in 2015, I was listening to a podcast with Tim Ferriss and Dr. Dominic D'Agostino talking about the benefits of the ketogenic diet, not from a weight loss or fat loss perspective, but from a scientific perspective of what keto actually does for, things like the brain. It talked about the benefits of keto and cancer, keto and traumatic brain injury, and keto and brain toxicity, and keto and Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, and all these positive benefits that keto has outside of the world of weight loss and fat loss. And yes, keto is just like any other diet. You can lose weight on keto, you can lose fat on keto, but that's not what makes it special. I'm going to talk about what keto is and what keto isn't in a second, but basically the reason keto is different than most diets out there, or every diet out there, is because it forces your body to enter into a different metabolic state. And what I mean by that is, when you're in a state of ketosis, your body, your brain are running off of a different fuel source. So humans, we have two different types of fuel sources. One is glucose, which is our main source of fuel. All of our carbohydrates get turned into glucose, which is the sugar. And then glucose is what's used as the primary fuel source to fuel our muscles, our brain, or other organs in our nervous system to function properly, right? But if every human in the world today stopped eating, right? If we ran out of food and we were starving, you wouldn't die the next day or the next day. You could go weeks, some people could go months without food and still be fine and survive just fine. And because of a process called ketosis, where your body breaks down stored fatty acids and converts those fatty acids into things called ketones, and then ketones replace glucose as that alternative fuel source. And when you are running off of ketones, you feel different. Your brain feels different. You feel this increase in mental clarity, increase in cognitive function, more focus and energy. You're less hangry. You don't need to eat as often. And the reason that is because glucose is a very fast burning fuel. And if you compare it to a fire and you throw lighter fluid or paper on that fire, you'll see a huge increase in flames, followed by shortly after it'll come back down to baseline. And that's kind of what glucose is to the body. Glucose is a very fast burning energy that your body will use really quickly. And then you'll need to replenish that fuel source. That's why we eat sometimes 3, 4, 5, 6 times a day, depending on who you are. With ketosis, ketones are more of like the coal or the log of the fire that stays hot and warm for a long period of time. And even though you won't get a big burst in flames, like a big boost of energy, you can kind of sustain that level of energy for a long period of time. And that's why you don't feel the need to eat as often or as hungry in between meals. You can go longer periods of time without food and feel fine on the ketogenic diet. And that's just the different metabolic state that I'm trying to describe. So that's kind of what keto is in a nutshell. And so my book, Complete Keto, like I said, once again, the reason I'm talking about this is because it's available for $1.99 for a limited time on Amazon for the ebook version, the Kindle version. So if you're interested, go check it out. The reason that I want to talk about the book, Complete Keto, is, it does have a 30-day program in there. So if you want to do keto the right way, the healthy way, this book is probably the most optimal way to do it. It's got a 30-day program with detailed meal plans with over 75 delicious and easy to make recipes in there that are keto friendly. All the recipes are dairy free and nut free. And the reason I did that is because dairy and nuts, even though they're keto ish, those are the two types of food I would say people tend to overconsume on keto and end up gaining a lot of weight on ketos, because they'll do handfuls of like macadamia nuts and cashews and pistachios, which are, keto-ish friendly. And then same thing with dairy. They will eat lots and lots of cheese and lots of heavy cream, and people tend to overconsume those types of food groups, the dairy and the nuts and seeds. And so that's why all the recipes are dairy free and nut free. I'm not saying you can't do keto and eat those foods. I'm just saying those are the two types of foods that people tend to overconsume on keto, and you can gain weight on keto. You can gain weight on any diet, in my opinion. Also, I want to make very clear that I'm not some keto zealot thinking that keto is the end-all be-all of diets. I think the keto diet is one tool in your tool belt, but you should have many tools in your tool belt. And keto is just one of those tools I think that people can utilize and use effectively. And you can see great results on keto, but not just for weight loss or fat loss. There's other, metabolic benefits to dipping into a state of ketosis, because as humans, we were designed to run off of two different types of fuel. And I think it's optimal to be metabolically flexible, meaning to be efficient at burning glucose and be efficient at burning ketones. And I think most humans don't get to experience what it's like to run off of both of those fuels, because most of us gravitate towards, processed junk foods that are mostly in carbohydrates, like chips and cookies and crackers and breads and pastas and rices and cereals and grains and, sodas and juices and granola bars and all the things that are delicious, that are affordable and cheap and very convenient, and they are very hyper palatable. They're designed to be freaking tasty. And I experienced this doing Fit to Fat to Fit twice, eating these types of foods that can become very addictive to a lot of people because they light up the pleasure centers of your brain. You get a big dopamine release from most of those types of foods. And so anyways, it's one of those things that I think, if you haven't done keto, you want to experience how to do it the right way. My book, Complete Keto, is a complete guide to how to do the keto diet in the healthiest way possible. Because what happens is when any diet becomes popular, becomes mainstream, marketing companies jump all over it and they gravitate to making comfort foods that fit into that food category. So you see this with keto, you see this with paleo, you see this with veganism, vegetarianism. Pretty much any diet that's popular, you'll see food products that are mostly comfort foods that fit into those categories. So you'll see keto cookies and keto ice cream and keto donuts and keto pizza and keto breads and all the things that are comfort foods, but they make them keto thinking, oh, as long as I'm eating keto, then I'm good. And people, will eat 4 keto cookies and 5 keto bars per day thinking, yeah, I'm keto, but they can't figure out why they are gaining weight or they're not losing weight. And I think there's a time and place for those types of food products, but let's be honest, most of us in a society of convenience, we like to gravitate towards those comfort foods because they make us feel good and they taste good. And it's easier to eat those foods than it is to meal prep and cook your own food. So the book Complete Keto has, like I said, a 30-day program included in here with detailed meal plans and easy to make delicious recipes. Plus, on top of that, it's got a 30-day workout program as well that I think is very effective. You can do from the comfort of your own home, or you can do it from a gym with very minimal equipment as well. So it's mostly body weight exercises. And so that's another aspect of the book. The other thing that makes the book different is I take the lessons that I've learned from Fit to Fat to Fit, doing that twice now, and implementing those tips, tricks, and hacks to overcome the mental and emotional side of transformation. So all the things I've learned over the years of why people struggle with things like emotional eating and self-sabotage and cravings, the mental and emotional, aspect of transformation, and helping people overcome those challenges. And it doesn't just apply to keto, but basically any diet that requires discipline and consistency. It's very challenging for most people out there because they struggle with discipline and consistency and willpower, and they don't really know how to overcome that part. And that's why the book is called Complete Keto, is because it's not just a keto book. It's complete in that it covers the physical aspect of transformation through a ketogenic approach, but then it also helps people overcome the mental and emotional challenges that come along with any diet that requires, like I said, discipline, willpower, consistency, and it helps people overcome those mental and emotional hurdles as well. And so that's kind of what makes the book unique. I think it's a great book. I think they did a really, really good job. The recipes are freaking delicious and colorful and very flavorful. And like I said, it's a complete guide to transformation, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, and maybe even spiritually as well. I think there's some good techniques in there to help people with that side of transformation. And so, like I said, it's available for $1.99 for a limited time. I wanted to make this short little podcast talking about that. And the other thing that it has in there is, when it comes to the ketogenic diet, it's one of those things that I think it's important to get keto adapted. And what I mean by that is it teaches you how, first of all, it teaches you the importance of the keto adaptation phase, which is typically 30 to 90 days for most people of consistent, and being in a consistent state of ketosis for 30 to 90 days so that your body becomes adapted to that new fuel source. And then from there, there's options of whether you want to stay in ketosis the rest of your life, or you want to do it more intermittently throughout the year, like maybe do it once or twice a year as a cleanse for 30 or 60 days. That's an option. There's a cyclical keto diet where you cycle in and out of ketosis after you become keto adapted, where maybe you do 5 days of keto, 2 days off, right? High carb days, or 6 days of keto, 1 day off. And I talk about the benefits of doing that approach once you've become keto adapted. The other technique is called a targeted ketogenic diet approach, where, once you become keto adapted, you can dabble with adding in carbohydrates strategically pre and post workout. And we're talking about like 10 to 20 grams, right? We're not talking about like a whole cake. We're talking about, maybe a handful or two of berries before you go work out. And the benefits of that are, once you're keto adapted, like I said, you go through that keto adaptation phase, adding in, 10 to 20 grams of carbohydrates pre-workout feels like jet fuel. It feels, once you become keto adapted, the glucose added from those berries or whatever source you want to choose for carbohydrates, you feel this extra burst of energy to push through a hard workout. So you get more out of your workout. So these are more geared towards athletes that want to get more performance out of their workouts. And so the targeted ketogenic diet approach is great for athletes or someone that wants to be able to push themselves harder or have more energy for their workouts. And I think that's kind of, there's different approaches in the book to talk about how to do them specifically and strategically and effectively so that you get the most out of the ketogenic diet. And it's one of those things that you don't need to stay keto forever. And it talks about, the benefits of a ketogenic diet, but why it might be important to cycle in and out of ketosis long term. And so, yeah, it's a great book. I'm very, very proud of how it came out. And even though I don't practice keto as much as I used to, the way I used to, that's a topic for another day. I will talk about why I'm not strict keto all the time like I used to be. I think there are some benefits for most people who have never been in a state of ketosis to experience what that feels like, because it is a very unique, euphoric, I would say, feeling to be in a deep state of ketosis, whether through fasting or whether through doing the ketogenic diet on a consistent basis. And for those that don't know, the ketogenic diet, typically it follows the macros of high fat, moderate protein, low carb. And so that typically, I would say for most people, around 70% fat, 25% protein, and about 5% or less of carbohydrates. So those are kind of like the macronutrient ratios that fit perfectly for the ketogenic diet. For most people, it's very bio-individual. So there's a lot of individuality in, like, for what works for someone might not work for someone else. But typically that tends to work for most people when they're just starting out on the ketogenic diet. So once again, it's a great book. I'm very proud of how it came out. I wanted to make this a very short episode. There will be more episodes based on feedback from you guys. So if you guys want to reach out to me on Instagram at fit2fat2fit, DM me with topics or ideas for podcast discussions, then I'm all game. And this is one of the ones that people have asked about. And there's more cool, interesting, I would say, topics that I'm going to be discussing, in my personal life, but also about health and fitness and nutrition and all kinds of other things. But I want to send you guys lots of love and respect and aloha for listening to the podcast. Like I said, I'll keep this one short, but there's a lot more cool, interesting content to come. I appreciate you guys. Someone's knocking at the door. Perfect timing. And we'll talk to you guys soon. Have a great one.